Thank you. Can everybody hear me? I was talking to somebody today, and they described what's happening to us is like a tsunami that started in Sacramento is just heading steadily south. And that's the way I think that it feels to all of us. This is a difficult speech for me to make. Those of you who've worked with me know that this is not something that I take lightly or in any kind of arbitrary way. It's been part of my big difficulty is how to maintain credibility with people. A week ago, I was sitting in a budget committee meeting with a number of you, and we said the budget cut, or the ERA stimulus refill money was going to be $37 million. At the end of that meeting, I clicked on my email and it had gone down to $35 million. This morning when I got here, I got an email from the Chancellor's office stating that the EOPS budgets, as all of you have seen many emails, I'm sure, saying that they were going to be cut 32% for EOPS, CalWORKS, and DSPS. Well, guess what? As of today, it's 39 to 40%. We are under this constant siege of dropping budgets. So all the figures that I had earlier about what the reductions were for these various categorical budgets have been in a constant state of flux. I think Marvin must recalculate about every 4 hours, trying to figure out what is it now, what is it now. In some cases, they reduce the amount of backfill dollars for some categorical programs, some it stayed the same, but the overall trend is steadily downwards. And it's happening, it seems as though faster and faster and faster. And in the meantime, the fiscal year is going to be nearly 5 months through by the time we implement any of this, these cuts. So I also sit and I think, why are they picking on student services? What did we ever do to them? And have a definite sense of being persecuted. And I think it comes from probably several reasons. But one of them is that the purpose that students go to college for is to go to classes. And I think probably what the legislature is doing is trying to reduce the impact on the likelihood of having to cut even more classes. And so a disproportionate amount went into student services. And they also are looking at the need to maintain over 50% of our budget in instruction. If you cut too much of if you cut too much in instruction, then you're facing the issue of the 50% law being violated. So I think it's a combination of those factors. So when we began talking about what are we going to do here, what are our priorities, this wasn't Ann Newman sitting there by herself cooking this self up. I spent a lot of time talking with my student services team, and we start looking at things as basically a Maslow's hierarchy. What are the most critical services that we have to do for our students? And when I say critical, I mean, do we have enough staff to have people fill out an application and process it? Do we have enough dollars? And right now, I don't have a budget to pay for the assessment tests. I don't know how we're going to do it. We're going to have to find some money for it. But somehow they've got to be assessed, or else we're going to be putting everybody willy-nilly into the faculty's classrooms. It would be really nice to be able to do some type of orientation, which is woefully inadequate as it is, so they at least know where buildings are, how you fill out the paperwork. I strongly feel that one of the most important things that we do at our college is counseling. We know that many of our students come to us uncertain of their majors. What are they going to major in? What do they need to take their first semester? We know many of them are academically unprepared. Those students need counseling. And I don't want to give up doing particularly emphasis on counseling for first-year experience, or first-year students, that first semester when they're coming in. And I think it's critical that we continue doing ed plans. And I think there's agreement with our team. I think it's also critical that we provide transfer information to our students. How do they actually go through the transfer process? California has a labyrinthine system that makes it extremely difficult for students. We have to continue doing that. I think it is critical for our students to be able to apply for or know how to apply for financial aid. Over 70% of our students have some type of financial aid now. Somebody has to help them do it. And then finally, I think it's critical that our students are able to access the categorical grants that are provided by EOPS and CalWORKS, and that's things like book service, childcare, the other kinds of supplementary funds that they provide. So when we met, we agreed those are the things that are most important for our students. Does it mean that other things that we do aren't good and important? Absolutely not. Do I think that they're worthless? Absolutely not. But when you're down to survival, those are the kinds of things that we thought were needed for survival. So with that, we began looking at the individual program reductions. And again, I don't want to give you exact dollar figures because they are changing probably as I'm speaking. And remember that thing they used to run in the Sacramento was ticking off the deficit? And it was like changing numbers every 2 seconds. Well, that's what I feel like has been happening to us here. But essentially, the EOPS and CARE budget was reduced by well over $500,000. It had a 40% budget cut. So of the things that we have done, and I want to mention, somebody said about hourly staffing, we have combed and reduced virtually all hourly staff in student services. You will see some budget lines for things that are rather unique. For example, we hire hourly interpreters for the deaf. Okay, that's a very kind of unique, you can't just, point at Mike and say, Mike, go do it. Those are, well, Mike's pretty special, but we could do it on a computer for us, but Excel. But those are the kinds of areas where we have been saving hourly dollars. Otherwise, we have pretty much eliminated all of it. So in EOPS, we have reduced the book servicing grants to the minimum that is allowed to us by the state. It's not a decision that we can make ourselves, that we can go down X number of dollars, and that's what we have done. We have eliminated, wherever possible, travel, supplies. Again, sometimes they're required to go to Sacramento for some type of director training. We have to accept that, but nobody's going to conferences just for enrichment. We've reduced the hourly staff, and we have also moved, or are going to be moving, 1.2 full-time equivalent counselors into general counseling. These dollars will be absorbed by the general fund. Okay, they will be picking up these costs. That will amount to about $140,000. The other thing that has, besides all these horrible cuts to EOPS, is their student cap was, thought I saw Lois back there, she may remember, our cap previously was about 1,288? 1333. The notice I got today was the cap for EOPS students today has been dropped to about 877 of students to be served.
We already have about their data.
Exactly. So this means we're not going to be able to accept new students. We aren't going to be able to process more book service. I don't even know if we have enough book money left to even do the minimum that can require. Lois is going this. So the workload is definitely going to be dropping. Once we got through all of that, we're still left money that cuts needed to be made. And so this is where the decision was made to recommend the reduction of 2 student services assistants and the elimination of the EOPS tutorial program. Matriculation has had a cut, again, of well over $500,000. I guess I should be addressing the board. I'm sorry, but I feel like it's my people out there, and they wrote an explanation. Okay. In matriculation, Maisie mentioned earlier that we had carryover dollars. We were able to cover about several months' salary because of the carryover of about $121,000 from last year. We gutted, I don't know if Robin is still here, but Robin basically has no marketing budget left. We virtually eliminated his entire marketing budget. We, again, eliminated travel, supplies, etc. And quite literally, at this point, I don't have the money to pay for transcripts. I don't have the money to pay for student body cards. That's where some of these one-time requests are going to be coming from. Other kinds of similar things. There's nothing, everything that's in there less is a need, it's not a want. We have eliminated off-campus outreach to the high school community groups. As you know, we've typically put a lot of work into trying to work with our high school students so they can access the college. That's gone. Many of you have known about our student ambassador program. We had a fine student ambassador program. That's gone. We have eliminated our student schedulers. Those were the people who helped the students try to figure out their class schedule. So when they're standing in the A&R line, they're not sitting there, well, can you tell me how I rate